This modeling video shows how the 132 scale Infinity de Havilland Vampire model was made. But let's first look at the Vampire history. The de Havilland Company in the United Kingdom designed during the Second World War a jet fighter, and this became the Vampire DH-100. The F Mark I was an early version. The F Mark III version was the single-seat fighter with an improved canopy with some 220 manufactured. The FB Mark V was the fighter-bomber version. In the summer of 2022, Infinity models from Czechia released Vampire injection-molded kits for a Fighter Mark III and a Fight Bomber Mark V. Infinity brought two releases. The kits have the same injection-molded parts but different and excellent decals. In the kit box are also two tiny etched metal frets with seat harness and a few airframe details. The Infinity kit instructions are very good with 43 steps and good decal guidance. The major parts breakdown is a bit unusual as you get two halves with upper fuselage and wing half molded in one piece each. The kit needs cleaning up the parts to get smooth joints. The parts have engraved panel lines and a lot of finely indented rivets at the wing and aft fuselage. The Vampire had a wooden fuselage based on Mosquito experience between bulkhead number 1 and 4, with the remainder airframe having a metal construction. Other parts like wing, tail booms and horizontal stabilizer were metal with flush rivets. But if you want less visible rivets on your model, apply thin putty or thicker base paint layers and sand flush. The 132 scale Infinity Vampire kit accuracy was checked up. The cannon nozzles looked to be at the correct position. To improve the nose shape, the forward nose was trimmed by removing 1 mm at the nose tip with a razor saw. It gradually leads to the windscreen area. This will improve the upper planform view nose shape. The corrected nose will look a bit more less blunt. In order to install the cockpit and interior from the bulkhead and floor, some plastic was removed. The wing aileron and dive brake hinge lines were inscribed deeper. For the FB Mark V, the wings were clipped. This is better done at this stage with a razor saw along the panel line. The main landing gear bays have nice structural details, but the gear legs need attention to install and align. I installed the big central bulkhead with spar aft of the inside ridge. The airflow ducts were used but joined first. Use clamps on the upper intake edges and allow to dry. At this stage the intakes vanes were not yet set as putty, and sanding is needed first at the intakes and fuselage. This is one of the weaker issues of this kit. The cockpit interior details were set as per Infinity kit and look good. There is a detailed pilot's seat. An ejector seat was not yet installed in these early jets. The plain pilot's seat was probably a synthetic resin bonded paper seat, known as the plastic seat as in many Spitfires. The whole lot needed putty and sanding, notably of the fuselage nose sides to meet the corrected nose to get a better looking nose in plan view. The intakes need quite some effort to get good. The clipped wing tips needed a bit putty and sanding at wing trailing edges and leading edges. A base gray coat was now applied on the main assembly to check for any flaws by airbrushing my favorite Revol 75 Steingrau acrylic paint. Repairs were made with putty and sanding when needed. All looked smooth. The two set of two intakes vanes were set. I needed to trim these considerably to have them fit inside the intakes in a vertical position. The tail booms and tail plane were set. Aligning the tails took some time and measurements. Another base gray coat was airbrushed and it looked fine. Inside the cockpit, a mix of black and white paint was airbrushed through the cockpit opening. The overall inside color is black, but I wanted to avoid a coal hole. Many Vampires were finished in an overall high-speed silver finish for most air forces that operated the type. For the high-speed silver Revol 90 acrylic paint was airbrushed. For airbrushing these thick Revol paints I use a mix of 50% paint, 25% isopropyl alcohol and 25% distilled water. Several Varnish Johnson Future Pledge layers were airbrushed thin 30% with isopropyl alcohol and a drop of glycerin as flow improver. This will enhance the gloss high-speed silver effect. I opted for a different scheme as those in the Infinity kit. I wanted a model for a South Africa Air Force Vampire, which was their first jet fighter. From 1950, a total of 50 Vampires and 27 Vampire two-seater trainer aircraft was delivered. These had initially the old-style roundels with the springbock. The model would be a nice companion to their latest jet fighter, the Saab Gripen 132 scale model I made as well. A YouTube video is also published to show how I made that improved 132 scale Gripen. Decals of the correct size in 1/32 scale were not available to me when I made this model. So I designed the specific markings with a graphics computer program looking at various photos. A scheme for a Vampire FB Mark V of No. 1 Squadron was picked as flown in the 1950s. The decals were custom printed by a third party. Each custom printed decal needed to be cut out with fine scissors. The smaller stenciling came from the kit decals. After decaling, the main landing gear parts were now installed. I had to trim the stubs on the gear legs and the instructions a bit unclear. Set the main gear legs at 90 degrees. It was decided to search for unguided rockets. The rails are in the kit but not the rockets, as these are Infinity aftermarket sets. But 60-pound rockets from the Matchbox Revil C Venom kit were found in my spares box. A clear gloss varnish Johnson Future Pledge coat was airbrushed to give an even sheen and protect the decals. The canopy was set slided open and fixed with a drop of white glue. That completed this very nice 1/32 scale Infinity Vampire kit. You can check out more details about the model on my website aircraftinplastic.com. It's a 1/32 scale Vampire trainer conversion. I hope you enjoyed this video.